I hope we are not intruding.
Oh, no. I was just doing a little studying.
Oh.
Yes, Earthers. I try to find out as much as I can about them to try to make some sense of them, but it never seems to come together.
They do seem to be a mess of contradictions.
Exactly my point. Here, 6,000 years of recorded history, a history that includes remarkable composers, astonishing symphonies. But what is the one song that half of them sing to their children generation after generation? You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your whole self in, and you turn yourself about. You do the hokey pokey, you give a little shout. That's what it's all about. It doesn't mean anything. I have been studying it for 7 days. I had the computer analyze it. I swear to you, it does not mean a thing.
I call it Whiskila.
Wow. I'm glad I just sort of wet my lips and then licked it off my lips. Because honestly, more than that, and we would not be recording an episode.
It's a complex cocktail.
Is it?
It's 1 part whiskey and 1 part tequila.
Oh, God. I guess technically speaking, it's a cocktail. It's just 2 liquors. Just two, the ends of 2 bottles of liquor.
It's like a Long Island iced tea, but
but it tastes terrible.
Should I call it a Uber iced tea?
No. I think they already had that, and it's probably better.
It probably tastes better. And it's probably 20% more alcohol.
Maybe. Only in volume, not in proof, because I'm not sure how much higher proof you could really get. Just Everclear. It's just straight it's Everclear with cherries wafted over top.
When I bought this bottle of whiskey, they had a bottle of barrel proof. What do they call it? I think it's barrel proof.
Okay.
And it was 75%.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the Whiskey Tila. It's already hitting. We are all Kosh.
Oh, right. We are all Kosh.
A Babylon 5 rewatch. I know. I'm sorry. I said we were only going to take 1 week off, and then we took 2 weeks off, and then this episode's going to come out on Monday instead of like just before Monday. It's going to be like during the day on Monday. And let me tell you, it's been a really long couple of weeks. It's been a month of weeks, I think. Isn't that what we said on Strange and Beautiful Book Club?
It's been a week of months.
It's been a lot. So I went on a road trip with my mom. We rode around, didn't ride around. I flew down to our previous home, and we got in a Class A motorhome with myself and our 2 children and my 77-year-old mother, who insisted she was the only one who could drive the 34-foot long
Oh, I didn't
Class
realize
A
she had
motorhome.
insisted that.
Oh, yeah, no, I was like, I will drive. And she was like, you will not. I was like, no, I can definitely drive. She's like, I know you're capable of driving. I'm not capable of riding with you. So, like I said, you just haven't lived until you're driving through downtown Indianapolis in a 34-foot long, 25-year-old Class A motorhome with your 77-year-old mother driving it, going 45 fucking miles per hour while literally everyone is trying to pass you, and you have to get over into the left lane. That happened, and meanwhile, Pippin needs all the vibes, guys, because he is not doing well. So Pippin went through a pretty dramatic health crisis, and he is not dead. I believe that is the technical description of Pippin at the moment, which is just not deceased. He is, we hope, in a period of recovery. He went to the vet. We took him to the emergency vet. He's on 30 days of antibiotics, like 2 weeks of steroids. I've never been on 2 weeks of steroids and 30 days of antibiotics in my life, and I'm a human being, and he is a small animal. So he's
I've been on 2 weeks of steroids.
You have, yeah, well, for your like poison ivy shit.
No, the yellow jackets.
Oh yeah, well, because you're a sensitive
Because
flower.
I got cellulitis from the
You're a delicate
yellow
flower. And
jackets.
Pippin had a very, very severe inner ear infection that I had been taking him to the vet for, but they kept telling me it was allergies or whatever. And Pippin has to be fully sedated to be seen at the vet. So I don't like taking him over and over and over again because just don't like how it takes him like 2 to 3 days to recover from sedation. And so I was like, well, okay, maybe it's allergies. So I'd wait to see if they cleared up, and it didn't clear up. And anyway, in the end, it was so deep in his ear, it was actually almost in his mouth.
The only way they saw it was at the back of his throat, where the ear connects.
So he's
not getting worse anymore.
yeah. Anyway, just everybody think about Pippin. He's an excellent assistant sound manager and a really good kitty cat. I'll be really sad if something happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes from being what I can only describe as not dead to deceased. It's part of being a pet owner, and it's the part that just fucking sucks, right? You get 14 to whatever years of like snuggles and love and personality, and then you are always, always, always going to outlive them. And it fucking sucks. And you know who else has to go through that? The guy in the giant machine and the planet underneath Babylon 5. I'm
Welcome
not
to
laughing.
season 1, episode 18.
I was trying for a segue. I'm actually really sad, but I'm just going to laugh through the pain because no one wants to be on here while I just cry about my cat for 2.5 hours. Anyway, while you're all thinking about Pippin, let's talk about this episode. So this is season 1, episode 18, A Voice in the Wilderness, part 1.
And we will only be doing part 1 today.
Yeah, we're only doing part 1. We're going episode by episode. We did the same thing in the Forever Night two-parters.
Yeah.
Where we did, Black Buddha part 1, Black Buddha part 2.
It would have been cool to do a 2-parter and have like a 4-hour podcast episode.
just talk forever and ever and ever. And for those of you who don't get the reference, I'll go ahead and spell it out. In the Bible, Isaiah 40, chapter 40, verse 3 says, the prophet Isaiah prophesied about a voice crying in the wilderness, preparing the way for the Lord.
Is Dral the Lord?
I don't know. The voice in the wilderness is like, it's a common idiom, and it just means someone who is like speaking truth, but it may be in the form of dissent, like speaking truth to power, whether or not that makes them popular.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting thing to keep in mind when we move through this episode. Not necessarily this particular episode, but as time moves on. Because this was really interesting. I was poking around on the internet and I found a place that had archived J. Michael Straczynski's comments from when this episode aired.
Okay.
Like had taken his answers to questions and saved them for posterity, which was really fascinating. And he said that this was the episode where he felt like he finally stepped on the gas. Like it speeds up from here on out. Like this is we're in the 3rd act of the 1st season, which
this is the first episode he has written in a while.
In a while. Yeah. It's written by J. Michael Straczynski and directed by a Janet Greek, who would go on to do a lot of episodes all the way through 1998 of Babylon 5, but literally didn't do anything ever again. Did like an episode of Crusade.
Okay.
And like one other 90s show, and then was like, well, I guess I'm done with that. I don't know, quit and went to work at Walmart. I don't know what she went to do, but not ever direct again. This originally aired the 20th of July, 1994. And it takes place in June 2258. I don't know how, again, that people got to classify when this takes place. It's also chronologically...
Maybe JMS confirmed dates or something.
It's chronologically after Survivors, apparently. The one where Garibaldi ends up on the run on his own station because the murderer is chasing him and gets away with it. That one, the I Don't Drink episode. I thought that was interesting. How did they decide that? Did somebody write that down? If someone know, like, I want to know how you figured out which ones were which, chronologically speaking. It doesn't feel right.
Maybe there's dates on Ivanova's console.
Okay, maybe. But the language is, okay, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's a rabbit hole. Somebody wrote it down somewhere and someone was like, well, I know things. I read and I know things. Maybe it's, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I still need to get the books. I did find our books, and it turns out I don't have the one with Harriman Gray in it. I have a couple of the like numbered books, the first several books, but I don't have that one. So I'm going to have to go find it. There are two main, well, according to the wiki, the two main side actors that they felt were the main like backup actors in this episode were Louis Turenne, Turenne, and he's the guy who plays Drawl.
Okay.
And he also comes back as a character named Brother Theo, as like a recurring character, because he had some kind of health.
Not Minbari.
Not Minbari. He had some kind of health problems, and it kept him from reprising his role as Drawl, but not from coming back as Brother Theo. So I'm guessing it had to do with the makeup.
Yeah, the
time
prosthetics.
spent. Yeah, and he died in 2006 at 72. And the other guy is the Kurt Lowens who plays Varn, and Varn is the guy in the machine.
Okay.
And he's Polish, which I thought was interesting. And he's done other stuff, but they're all like the 1 to 2 episodes of a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
And he passed away in 2017. And some of the comments that I found from J. Michael Straczynski, I copied into my notes because I thought they were pretty interesting. And he was saying it was always intended to be a 2-parter. He always wrote it that way. And he did that because the Babylon 5 2-hour pilot was doing super well overseas as like aftermarket cassettes, like VHS tapes.
Okay.
So VHS tapes of the Babylon 5 pilot were like selling like hotcakes in other countries. And so they wanted him to produce another 2-hour episode that they could put on tapes and sell. And he was like, okay, you want me to make a thing that will make money and will therefore get me to continue being able to make things? I will do this thing for you. And I discovered, fun fact, because I listened to the entire memoir in Peter Jurassic's voice, when I read comments, I know our JMS talking. It sounds like Peter Jurassic in my head.
Interesting.
So it sounds like my sweet, slightly New Jersey grandfather is reading things to me.
Nice.
Well, it was kind of fun. Oh, and then he also mentioned the elevator/transport tube gag and how fun it was to be able to set that up way in advance and how much he enjoyed the way this format allowed him to set these jokes up. Because the first time Talia gets in the tube with Garibaldi, that's when he's like, do you want to see my second favorite thing in the universe? And then the next time in Mind War is when he gives her like the mental once-over and then she elbows him in the stomach.
Yeah.
And then this episode is the one where she's standing outside the tube and Sinclair walks up and he's like, why are you not just getting in the elevator? And she's like, he's always there.
It's like he knows.
It's like he knows. Garibaldi's always in the elevator. And Sinclair's like, what? That's crazy talk. And so she opens the elevator and Garibaldi's standing.
And he does the eyebrow raise.
Yeah.
Problem with the transport tube?
No, not really. It seems like every time I get into the tube, Mr. Garibaldi's there. It's like he knows.
Talia, Mr. Garibaldi is many things, but he's not omniscient.
I think I'll take the stairs.
I think I'll join you.
And it's such a good payoff. It's It's so good. It's chef's kiss. It's good enough. I remember that gag when I think about Babylon 5. It's one of the things that I'm like, remember the joke about Garibaldi always being in the transport tubes? It's so good. Oh, and the other thing he mentioned that a lot of these sets were actually not redresses of their regular sets. They built entirely new sets for the
Specifically
two-parter.
for this episode. Okay.
Yeah. And there's one shot where they walk across the walkway, and it looks like it's lifted straight from Forbidden Planet. And he was like, I knew it was going to, but I just went with it. Like, it looked better.
What's Forbidden Planet?
It's like a seminal sci-fi movie. We'll have to watch it.
Okay.
Anyway, he was like, I knew we were going to get, it looks like Forbidden Planet, but it was a cool shot, and I feel like it's worth it. And he said they really turned it out, did a bunch of new CGI sequences, and wrote a whole bunch of new music for this two-parter, which I think is really cool. So they went all out on production, hoping to package it and then sell it overseas.
Was there anything about the payoff of that?
No, I didn't say that because it's all contemporary, so he wouldn't have known yet.
Yeah.
He did mention, and you cracked a joke about it while we were watching it, the fact that Sinclair and Ivanova get in the shuttle and go down to do the potential first contact situation.
Right. I thought, okay, like, they need to go down and investigate. So you get the two most senior leadership positions on the station, on a shuttle at the same time, knowing that they're going to be facing live missiles that are targeting them. Okay, at least you have the experienced fighter pilot flying the ship.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I guess if it's a potential first contact situation, then you can make an argument for sending the two most senior leadership positions.
That's exactly what it is.
Was there more? Or
no, that's it. Apparently, we've mentioned this previously, where they talked about first contact protocol states that there has to be a member of the command staff, like a high-ranking member of the command staff, present during the first contact situation.
Gotcha.
And it's because of the disastrous thing that happened the last time we had a first contact situation where a member of the command staff was not present.
Gotcha.
And so it is judged by Earth Force to be worth the potential loss of 2 command staff level people versus sending someone who is inexperienced in first contact and ending up into war again.
Gotcha.
So it's canon. Like, he's like, yeah, they have to go because that's the protocol. That's the first contact. That's how we do that.
But you can see Sinclair's eyes light up.
Oh, yeah.
When he's like potential first contact. That means I get to go and I get to fly the ship.
Even Ivanova's like, should we? I mean, we're obligated to go, right? I mean, it would be wrong of us to not follow first contact protocol. And they're like, hell yeah. How many missiles does the planet have?
It can manufacture them.
Out of what materials?
It's a literal planet.
I know, but would there not be a finite number of resources?
Well, yeah, but it could make probably hundreds of thousands of missiles.
So it's extensive enough as to be functionally infinite?
Maybe not over millions of years.
Nothing's ever fired out of this thing before. They didn't even know there was anything in this planet. They thought it was a dead planet.
Right, but there were earthquakes. Would they be earthquakes, or would you just call them planet quakes?
They call them seismic events.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that this throwaway planet that is just in the background of the opening shots that we have been looking at for 18 episodes, they're suddenly like, hey, y'all, did you know there's some shit up with that planet?
We're
Epsilon.
not just using it as a stable orbiting point for the station.
There might be some more shit going on here. We picked a really fortuitous planet to put this thing nearby.
Or was it just randomly chosen?
Oh, good point. Well, we don't know what it does yet because we haven't watched part 2. So let's stick to the script, shall we? So we open on somebody coming in from off a shuttle, and it's an elderly Minbari fellow. And he literally walks up to a security guard and is like, hey, I'm looking for Ambassador Delenn. And the security guard's like, oh, yeah, I'll take you to her. So assassins do take note. No need to look for Delenn. Just ask the nearest security guard and they will very helpfully take you to them, especially if you look Minbari.
Behind the scenes,
Okay.
maybe Delenn.
No, she didn't know he was
Notified.
coming.
Oh, she didn't know he was coming?
She says, you haven't told me why you're here. I didn't know you were coming. He didn't even have a place to stay for the night. She has to arrange for him to have a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
She has to get him set. He literally hopped on a shuttle, showed up and was like, hey, bestie, I'm here. And she was like, oh my God.
Just goes to show you, if you just walk in knowing, like, you know what you're doing, looking like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can get you pretty far.
Attitude is everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Drawl knows that because Drawl's literally like, hey, have you seen the ambassador? And they're like, oh, yeah. Oh my God. Let me take you right to her. This is the time of day where she doesn't wear her bulletproof vest, and we can definitely just go find her in the rock garden, like all alone. Oh, and by the way, we don't have any cameras in there, so you guys should be able to have any kind of a conversation you want. It's going to be perfectly fine. And then we cut to the command dome, and this is where we kind of set up the A plot. I would argue there's something of an A plot, and then like the barest veneer of a B plot, because it's just furthering the Mars situation. Mm-hmm. So we've had rumblings of the Mars situation, because remember the whole episode where they were worried that they were going to use Babylon 5 as an arms depot? Mm-hmm. Well, shit's going to get even worse in this episode. It's escalating tensions that have been happening, and now like the final escalation has happened, and out and out rebellion has broken out on the Mars colony. And this is going to occupy Garibaldi's time, and it's going to give us some great moments with Londo and a couple of pretty good moments with Talia, where we get a little bit of humanizing for Talia, which is really nice. But this is just like it's like butter on top of the main plot bread. Like, it's just the thinnest amount of, let me just drop this in here. Maybe the viewer won't even notice. And, but they'll really love this the second time through. That's what this is. But what we set up immediately is that there's some kind of seismic disturbances happening on the planet, because they literally go, any more seismic disturbances? And Sinclair's like, actually, I don't know who says it.
Sinclair agrees that they should check it out.
Well, what they are basically discussing is there's seismic disturbances happening. I mean, it wouldn't really matter. It would just be a random planet rumbling. But we're kind of in orbit around the thing. We probably need to figure out what the fuck it's doing.
Right.
We're probably like locked to it. So if it falls apart, it's going to be real bad for us. Or if it's like Io and a volcano explodes so bad that magma shoots out into space, like shit, we need to figure out what's happening. They're like, we better go check it out just to be sure. And they're like, okay, agreed.
Science guy wants to go investigate.
I know. And
really,
okay. I read the wiki and I wrote down like the side characters, and the wiki was like, oh, and there's this other guy who does the thing. I don't even know, whatever. But he has a bigger part than Varn in this part. Takashi, the doctor guy, Takashi, he has a far larger role than even Drawl. And yet they were like, I don't know, he's like a whatever.
Throw away.
It was literally in the bottom section.
Just don't even worry about it.
With bartender and background character and Psy-Corps liaison or what, like the people that don't even get a name, and they're like, oh yeah, Dr. Takashi or whatever. Dr. Takashi is a pretty large character, and he's still alive. His name is, I don't know my nose.
They just used his real name for his character.
Don't be like that. Don't be like that. Oh my God. Louis Turen's IMDb page totally gives away the ending to this episode. His picture is beep. Okay, anyway, this guy is Jim Ishida. Ishida? Ishida. He's from Tokyo, Japan. And he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Back to the Future Part 2 as Fujitsu. I can't even make this stuff up. He's been in a bunch. He's one of those like, you need me to be Japanese, I can probably do that for you. Which sadly was a career option for
For a while.
And is kind of still one, unfortunately. Oh, he was in a bunch of... No, he wasn't. He was in one episode of Arrested Development. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's been in like one episode of a wide variety of things.
Yeah, he plays his character pretty well.
He does a good job. I mean, he's got like one job, which is just to be like, I science. I like science. And he does a good job. He sciences. I believe it. And really what happens at the beginning here is Sinclair wanders off because he has to go play diplomat for a few hours. And what
with Delenn and Londo, but not Jakar.
Not Jakar for once.
Where is Jakar?
For once, it's Londo negotiating with somebody else. I know, and this is where he runs into Talia waiting at the transport tube, and he's like, "What are we waiting for?" And she's like, "Every time I get into the tube, Garibaldi's there. It's like he knows." And Sinclair goes, "Garibaldi's many things,
but he's not omniscient.
He's not omniscient." And
or is he?
They open the tube and he's standing there and he does like like the little eyebrows. And they both go, I think I'll take the stairs. Even Sinclair's like, yeah, I'm going to join you. Like that was a little weird, right? And Garibaldi's like, maybe he has little discs that project a hologram of himself. And he has them keyed to Talia's whatever.
He has them installed in every single lift.
Every single lift.
And they're just keyed to her comm.
Yeah. I don't think she wears a comm, though.
It's in her pocket.
Everybody
has one.
It's fine. Wouldn't she be able to sense if it didn't have thoughts, though? Well, maybe he's so just white noise all the time. She's like, wow, he just always sounds like static. That's so weird. He only thinks in violence.
He's cultivated that mindset in order to make just to set up this gag to trick Talia.
You thought 3 episodes to set up the transport tube gag was a long time? Garibaldi's been training himself for years.
Yep.
So then the survey team is heading to the surface, and they're like 40 miles. Range to surface, 40 miles. And then they get, quote, close enough, and they activate scanners set for maximum depth. Sorry. He's like, let's see what's going on underneath all that dirt. And then all of a sudden, something happens. There's like a power surge or whatever, and they lose energy. And the guy goes, we lost power. Get it back.
I mean, straight to the point. It's better than,
The guy's like, I fucking can't. I don't have any controls because I have no power. And he's like, sounds like a you problem. Get me power, bitch.
This is where drive-by-wire is a bad decision. That means your like steering device is only connected to your actual controls electronically rather than having like a hydraulic line or like a physical like rod and gear system that connects. So that way if you lose power, you can at least like push on it really hard and like move the fins on the wings of the shuttle or whatever. But if it's all just electronic, well.
R.I.P. Future Earth Force engineers do take note. Drive-by-wire is not stable. I just like that. Get it back, because I feel like that's me in a crisis. I'm like, Matt, fix it, and you're like, okay, I'm on it, but I can't. Like, I gotta wait for a bare minimum a level of functionality before I can push the right buttons to do the thing you want me to do. And they're like, oh no, we're crashing, and they start falling towards the planet, and then it was the dawn of the third age of
gets
mankind.
worse.
And then we go to the intro. And we leave it at the cliffhanger, the cold opening cliffhanger of the survey team plummeting to their death. Will they
to make
survive?
Sure the viewers come back after the intro.
I think it's important to note that J. Michael Straczynski said he wrote this episode when he was super sick. He said he had a really bad fever and he just locked himself in his room, took as many vitamins as he thought he could keep down, and wrote for 3 days, 12 hours a day to knock this out. And there are parts of this episode that feel like a fever dream. So I get it. He's like, I kind of don't remember writing a lot of it. He said there was another.
What was the guy that's actually in the planet?
Varn.
Varn?
It feels like that's
Varn
JMS
is
locked in the
JMS,
room,
yeah.
and he's like, "Help,
Help me.
help me." Maybe it was his subconscious being like, "The fuck is wrong with you? Go lay down." And that's why he ends up in med bay. Help me, take me to med bay. We come back at the end of the intro, and the shuttle's like, "Oh, we're fine, actually. It's fine.
It got better.
We got better. The power came back on." And Babylon 5's like, what just happened? All of our readouts blacked out. Was that you guys? And they're like, no, the same thing happened here. There was some kind of power surge. It was off the scales. It came from inside the planet. And they're like, okay, so what's your situation? And they can't continue flying. Their controls are fried. So they've achieved
they don't have
orbit.
enough energy to get to
Well, he literally
escape
says
orbit.
controls are fried.
Oh,
And they
okay.
said that they've achieved orbit, but they can't come back. So they're stable, but they need help to go anywhere but where they currently are. So maybe could you send somebody?
They say don't go anywhere.
Yeah, Ivana. I know Ivana was like, don't go anywhere. He's like, where
Well,
am I going to go?
I mean, they're going to keep orbiting the planet.
I mean, yeah, but they're not going to like leave the planet or anything. So they're sending 2 Star Furies to tow them back. And there is a ship that they have that is capable of going into the atmosphere, and I forget what it's called.
This shuttle.
But that's like a fighter. Yes, thank you. Correct. But there's like a fighter version of a Star Fury that can.
Okay.
Star Furies are space only. Okay, that's the point that I'm getting at here. They don't do in the atmosphere combat. They only do space. Yes, this shuttle.
Only once.
Yes. They make one extremely effective attack.
Single-use atmospheric attack.
They're like, don't. Ivanova tells them, don't go anywhere. And they're like, don't go anywhere. Where can we go? And he's like, anybody got a deck of cards?
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
I mean, couldn't they do some amount of surveying while they're sitting there?
Yeah, and the ship's still orbiting the planet.
Yeah,
Unless their sensors got fried.
I guess. I feel like they could still visually inspect it. Well, that part's brown. That part's less brown. Oh, that part's got a crack. And then we see a cool Star Fury launch, which feels new. I think that's a new bit of CG.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we brought them back. We don't see them get towed. They're just
Right.
like, they're back now. And they're like,
They could reuse the the grappling arms scene from really early in the season.
from Soul Hunter.
Yeah.
My favorite episode of all time.
Absolutely
with
correct.
space tongs.
No
Hang on.
sarcasm.
I'm going to get you with space tongs. It's just a guy clinging to the side with like, hang on, I got this. Could you do a lasso in space? Can you lasso in space? Or does that require some amount of gravity?
No, you could probably do it in space. There's actually some really crazy like chain physics that you can do in space. They talk about, if you want to read about crazy chain physics in space being used effectively,
Just Google that.
the
Crazy
book
chains.
7 Eves
Oh,
by
okay.
Neil Stephenson.
Yeah, the one with not Elon Musk.
And also not Neil deGrasse
Tyson. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure it's aged great. That depiction. Just pretend it's not him for real instead of supposed to be an homage.
Right.
And maybe a lasso would work even better because you wouldn't have to work so hard to keep it circular, but it would be hard to get the momentum to like throw it around the shuttle.
Yeah, part of the line of force when you throw the lasso, you're pulling against, like you're expecting gravity to do part of the movement. So maybe it wouldn't work as well.
Well, you know, in Wing Commander. Remember in Wing Commander how they're supposed to look like naval vessels, like submarines and
Yeah.
fighter pilots and shit?
Yeah.
What I want is an actually good space movie where they're like naval-ish. And so to grapple, you have to send a guy out with a rope who like wraps it around a docking cleat to pull it back. I'm just saying, it's an untapped market. Actual pirates in space. But like, you know, pirates, like on a pirate ship.
Like Treasure Planet.
Oh my God, you're right.
There you go.
Okay, never mind. It's already been done and done well.
Yes, and done well.
Oh, that was such a good era of Disney. Because that's the same time as the Atlantis one, which is so good. And
right, and it's
Lilo and Stitch?
It was because they were overhauling. They were switching to a bunch of computerized stuff.
It was the backup animation studio.
And so,
who were operating
they gave
without
the backup
supervision.
studio like full control over all these projects, and they're like, okay,
fucking yes.
All these ideas we've had that they
we
keep
don't
turning
need
down.
No princesses, no queens.
We don't need to ask permission anymore. What is it? Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than to ask permission.
Apparently, and I kind of want to do it for Strange and Beautiful Book Club, maybe as like our 3-year anniversary or something. Apparently, the tale of how The Emperor's New Groove got made is absolutely fucking wild. Like they didn't deliver.
That sounds fun.
They didn't deliver a finished script until after the movie had been made and was already out in theaters.
I can believe that.
And they literally said the writer's room was like, okay, here's what's happening today. They're like, okay, so Yzma's falling out of the window as a cat. How do we get her back up? And someone's like, I don't know, maybe there's a trampoline salesman at the bottom. And they're like, fucking print it. That's go. And that's how the entire movie got made. And I want to watch it so bad. Okay. I mean, I've seen it. Like, I loved that movie. I probably quote that movie by heart. But like, apparently Sting's former girlfriend made a documentary about the making of The Emperor's New Groove because it was originally a musical and Sting wrote all the music for it. And then they didn't use fucking any of it, but nobody ever told her she couldn't make some kind of a documentary based on the not musical that Sting didn't get to write that turned into The Emperor's New Groove. Anyway.
I'm hooked.
All right. That was a mini trailer for a future episode of Strange and Beautiful Book Club. Back to Takashi, because he pops out and he's like, oh my God, you guys. Actually, this isn't his moment. He comes back in a little bit, but this is where they're like, hey, we saved them already. Yay. And then we go to Sinclair and Londo and Delenn, and they are negotiating
a trade agreement.
And it's
it goes smoothly.
It goes smoothly.
Yeah, because it's not Jakar.
But they are curious. Londo and Delenn, they get to ask Sinclair some questions. They're like, so what happened? Like, what's going on with the planet? This is kind of cool. And Londo goes, it's an interesting riddle. I thought the planet was uninhabited. And Sinclair's like, yeah, we got down and walked around down there and shit. And like, I don't know, there's no life or anything. We sent a probe repeatedly and we mined a bunch of resources, but we didn't find any. Boop, 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 boop.
Yep.
Do the little like
the Mass Effect
noise. And Delenn is like, I mean, maybe in the past somebody lived there, but they don't live there now. And Londo is like, I mean, that could be true. And if it has, maybe you guys like woke something up. And Sinclair's like, well, we will find out, won't we? So anyway, back to the trade routes that we're supposed to be talking about. And we leave that scene to go to the survey guy. And this is when he pops out and he's like, I'm going to need equipment. I'm going to need spectral analysis, thermal probes. I'm going to need so much equipment. And he's like, we're going to reconvene tomorrow. And they're all like, yes, sir. And then they walk off so that we can just talk to Dr. Tasaki. 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 Not Takashi like the original Ivanova character.
Right.
Who might have been Takahashi? God, I don't know. I've lost it all. Never mind.
Or Takeshi.
I can't stop. The more you say
it,
the more you say it, the less meaning it has. Okay, so I'm just going to say Dr. Tasaki / survey guy. And Ivanova pops in and she's like, hey, so what the fuck happened? And he's like, oh my God, I have like literally no idea.
This is so exciting.
He's like, we were told the planet was uninhabited and safe. And now it appears it isn't. And he actually goes,
science.
Actually, Ivanova goes, now it appears it isn't. And he goes, incorrect. We don't know if anyone's alive down there. The seismic activity could have been triggered by an automatic system. So we don't know that it's not uninhabited. We just know it may not be safe. Like, the uninhabited part is up for debate.
It used to maybe be inhabited.
Yeah.
Maybe it still is.
But I don't know. It's a mystery. And he goes, okay. Ivana goes, what are you going to do? And he goes, well, in order, I'm going to process the data collected from the power burst and then call my wife because she loves mysteries.
And she works in plasma something?
She's on Proxima. She's just on Proxima.
Oh, but they say she works in plasma something.
I don't know. He just says she likes mysteries.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't really, we don't come back to it, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to call his wife and tell her some top secret information about a potentially...
Is it top secret, though?
It's a threat to Babylon 5 that is as yet unconfirmed.
But he's a civilian researcher.
Then why'd they send him? Did
Because
they not
he's the
have,
expert. He's the subject matter expert.
They don't have any military scientists on board?
Oh, a lot of military scientists are civilians.
Okay, well, he would have some sort of security clearance that would prevent him from spreading around.
Maybe. Only if it's deemed classified material. If it's just, hey, something's going on, get the scientists to look at this because...
Well, here's my argument. Because of the stuff that's happening on Mars, they are in a very fractious, like very powder keg type situation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the planet below them started having seismic activity and shooting fucking rockets at them. And we don't know who's shooting the fucking rockets or where the seismic activity is coming from.
I don't think we've seen the rockets yet. Not until
yet,
the second
but
flight.
Still.
After the rockets, I could...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But meantime,
Lock it
he's
down.
still called his wife and been like, oh my God, you are not going to believe what's happening on Babylon 5 right now. Maybe she doesn't tell anybody. Maybe it's one of those things where your spouse is allowed to have certain amounts of privileged information. Okay, well, if that pops up, we'll discuss it then.
Okay.
And Ivanova goes, this doesn't worry you. You're not like concerned. And he goes, oh no, I'm scared. I'm scared shitless. My bowels are watery. I am so scared. But what better way to go out than in the cause of scientific knowledge?
Good thing I'm still wearing my spacesuit.
And then he leaves. He just leaves her with that. And Ivanova goes, is this a multiple choice question? Because I have other ideas. Like, I think there are other ways that I would like to go out. And then we go back to Sinclair doing his negotiation. And this is when Delenn is like, I mean, sure, we will allow you to run your trade route through our space, but only if we are allowed to use the jump gate in that sector for free. And Sinclair's like, sounds like a really good fucking deal to me. Your government stands to profit substantially. Jump gates fees are pocket change. Like, you're going to save so much money by using this trade route that the jump gate fees won't matter. And Londa goes, okay, well, apparently what I consider a tent, you consider a pocket. Which is a good point. A pocket's not a very good standard measurement when you don't know what everybody's pocket sizes are.
Right.
What if they don't even know what pockets are? Maybe pockets are like heretical.
Londo sticks his hands in his pockets.
Maybe he had them added by a tailor on Babylon 5 because he saw humans doing it and he thought it was really cool.
In pursuit of a deeper understanding of human culture. He does spend time researching human culture.
He does. We find out about it in this episode. And he goes, you're right. It's a reasonable demand. Done and done. I'll have my government issue an agreement by when? Tomorrow this time? Ah, what a pleasure it is to deal with someone reasonable. Because negotiations are more enjoyable when certain individuals are not here. And Delenn is like, okay, there is a difference between being unreasonable and being angry. And Ambassador Jakar is angry, but even the greatest anger fades with time. And Londo's like, oh
no.
My sweet summer child.
Let me explain.
I would suggest that there is a difference between being unreasonable and being angry. Ambassador Jakar is angry much of the time, but even the greatest anger fades with time.
My dear Ambassador Delenn, I am sure that for you this is true. But for Jakar and his people, they will do all that they can to destroy us until the universe itself decays and collapses. If the nuns all stood together in one place and hated all at the same time, that hatred could fly across dozens of light years and reduce Centauri Prime to a ball of ash. That's how much they hate us.
You don't have to respond in kind.
Of course we do. There's a natural law. Physics tells us that for every action, there must be an equal and opposite reaction. They hate us, we hate them, they hate us back. And so, here we are, victims of mathematics.
That's the power of hate.
If they all hated in the same direction at one time, it would be an actual weapon. Their hate is so powerful. It's so illustrative, and I love it. And part of his comments on this episode was about the monologues and how he's being encouraged, sort of. Or there was some scuttlebutt about his overuse of the monologue, and he was basically like, middle fingers up, bro. And then Lynn went on to complain
These monologues
about
bro.
how MTV was shortening people's attention spans, and that if a take takes longer than 10 seconds anymore, everyone thinks it's too long. And I was like, oh, it's really nice to know that that since 1994, we've been complaining the complaint of, wow, attention spans have gotten so short.
There was a lot of discourse around that in like 2016, 2017, kind of picked up, where people were kind of refuting people's attention spans are getting short. Okay, then why are hundreds of thousands of people listening to 3-hour-long podcasts?
Yeah.
Like by choice, like for recreation.
for fun. We even make them sometimes.
Maybe the people making the media are forcing that narrative.
Yeah. He's literally said, I could have had Londo say something simple like, they're unreasonable and they hate us a lot. But the way that I had him say it conveys the feeling of how much they hate so much better. And I would not have had that opportunity had I shortened his speech.
Mm-hmm.
True. Thank you, JMS, for sticking by your guns, because dialogue in Babylon 5 is one of my favorite things. And I love it when Londo gets going and he says something like this.
And then he goes on to say, responding with hate is a law of nature.
Yeah.
And we're just fighting with mathematics here.
Yeah, because Sinclair goes, you don't have to respond in kind. And he's like, oh, but we do. It's a natural law. Physics tells us that every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. They hate us. We hate them. They hate us back. And here we are, victims of mathematics. It's such a good line.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. And then he looks over at Delenn and he goes, Ambassador. And he just leaves. And Sinclair
Mic
goes,
drop.
he never listens. And Delenn goes, he will, sooner or later. And Sinclair's like, are you fucking sure? Have you met Londo? Have you met him? And Delenn goes, listen, I have to believe he will get better because the alternative is too terrible to consider.
How can you be sure?
Because the alternative is too terrible to consider. Without the hope that things will get better, that our inheritors will know a world that is fuller and richer than our own, life is pointless, and evolution is vastly overrated.
That's a really fucking good line.
Mm-hmm.
This whole interaction is like a masterclass in how you write dialogue and how you convey feelings in almost poetry-like descriptions. And this man was like high on cold medicine while he wrote all this. It's so good. And then she's like, good day, Commander. And then she leaves. And then we come back to Ivanova and the survey team. And they're like, okay, so there's a signal, but it seems to have diminished, I guess. And they're like, are you sure it's a beacon? And then they show the planet and this beam of light is shooting out of the planet off into the distance.
I don't think they can see the beam of light.
They can. It's on the video screen.
We're seeing it.
Okay.
But they're not talking about it like, look at the fucking beam.
Are you sure it's a beacon? Sir, look at it.
If I was there and someone said, "Are you sure it's a beacon?" Look at it. It's a coherent beam. Just shooting straight out in a straight line. It's not just random radiation from inside the planet spreading in every direction. This is focused.
Somewhere.
It has a destination.
Somewhere on that planet, there's a parent looking at their child going, point the flashlight down. Point it at the ground. Down.
Don't point it at that space station. Like, don't point lasers at airplanes.
Ivanova's like, I mean, yeah, it's a series of regular signals repeated at specific intervals, so.
This is all caused by a kid who was pointing a laser at a plane, which was the survey ship.
Yeah.
And knocked it out of orbit.
And here we are, a 2-part episode. But they're basically like, it's sending information. We just don't know what the fuck the information says. We've tried and we can't decipher it. And Sinclair's like, okay, so how about Dr. Tasaki? And Ivanova goes, oh, he's like a kid with a new puzzle. He wants to check it tomorrow morning. And Sinclair's like, oh, he's a glutton for punishment. But I'll authorize it on one condition, that he's careful. That he gets there safely. It's like when your kid's doing something, they're like hanging off the side of a 2-story building and you're like, make good choices. Be careful. That's probably not a good idea, but we're here, I guess. And Ivanova goes, agreed, I'll take care of it first thing in the morning. And by the way, Commander, have you heard from the Mars colony? And this is our first like, something's happening, because Ivanova notices that there is no news. Nothing.
And no news
updates.
Is not good news.
Not in this case. She's like, it's always in the Earth Force status report, but it came in and there wasn't any word from Mars. I mean, sometimes that's because there's military exercises, but they would have told us so. And Sinclair's like, I don't know, maybe a glitch? Like, I can't. The fucking planet woke up, Ivanova. It's shooting a light beam out into space. I can't think about Mars right now. She's like, oh, you're right. Okay, so good night, Commander. And then we cut to Delenn trying to get into her room. And Drawl walks around the corner and he just goes, what's the third principle of sentient life? And she goes, Drawl? And he goes, incorrect answer. And then luckily he tells us, because I would hate for us to go without knowing what the third principle of sentient life is.
It would feel like one of those which we get in this episode where we get Londo delivering a punchline and then laughing and leaving the group.
It's one of my favorite transitions.
Oh yeah,
my favorite. It's once you realize
it's like
the thing,
the standard
everywhere.
Standard segue for Londo.
It's a standard segue. Even now, if you're watching a modern show, they'll do this. They'll pop in and someone just says the punchline to a joke and everyone laughs, and you're left to fill in the rest of whatever it could have been. Yeah.
Yep.
But he goes, incorrect answer. It is the capacity for self-sacrifice. The ability to override evolution and self-preservation for a cause, a friend, a loved one.
Incorrect answer. The third principle of sentient life is the capacity for self-sacrifice. The conscious ability to override evolution and self-preservation for a cause, a friend, a loved one. It has been too long, Delenn.
And what is it you say? You always state the theme in the first act.
Yeah. This is a good theme. This is the theme from the third act that will then be the theme for the entirety of maybe like the next 4 seasons of Babylon 5. So like maybe put a pin in this one, because I have a feeling we're going to be revisiting the third principle of sentient life.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm pretty sure there's an entire episode where it's like the greatest honor is doing the right thing, even if it means no one will ever know.
Well, I'm just referring to this 2-parter.
Oh, well, that
and
too.
Drawl specifically.
I mean, I guess. But it is going to pop up again, like, repeatedly.
Yeah.
So it's a good one to remember. He's like, it's been too long, Delenn. You've forgotten your training. I just said your name. Would you calm down? I was like, Drawl?
No, Drawl was her answer. Drawl is the third principle of
Oh,
sentient
maybe.
life.
I was reading up on it, and apparently he had a convention for Minbari names. That's why some of
Okay.
them have the same ending sound or the same beginning sound. And he had a translation for what those meant, but that I don't know that he ever actually shared it.
Okay.
He was like, it's for me to know. Which I respect. It's fine. He's like, you'll soon have forgotten all about your old friend Drawl. She's like, not if I live to be 1,001. He feels, and I don't think this is me going out on a limb here, like her gay best friend.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. The part where,
The biggest thing I got from him is he has big stage acting vibes.
I made a note later, and we can bring it up here, which is Babylon 5 really benefited from this fucking sweet spot in the 90s where you had all these 50s and 60s
Like theater
character
actors?
theater actors, TV actors who had made a career out of these over-the-top dramatic performances that would have been their bread and butter in the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, and
Like
70s.
Andreas.
Like Andreas.
Yeah.
And now they're in their sunset years where TV is transitioning to a far more nuanced, far less stage-like presence where you are not acting through the pixels anymore. You are literally, it's a higher level of sophistication is what TV is moving towards. Babylon 5 is like the first stone in the pond of the elevation of television in general. And yet it benefited from being able to hire and utilize
These
all
veteran,
of these.
just like top tier talent.
Yeah, who in their day would have been just like perfection. And then you drop them in this modern feeling sci-fi setting, and it's like you put Shakespeare on a stage and he got to fucking act. These people got to fucking act. And 10 years after this, 1994, so in 2004, most of these people are gone, and you wouldn't have been able to get this again. Babylon 5 was the right show at the right moment with the right writers, the right casting director, and a pool of people that it could pull from who absolutely make this show.
Yeah.
All right, we took a short break for a lie down and a cup of hot jala. And now we're ready to continue. I believe we left off at Drawl is Delen's gay boyfriend or gay best friend. It feels that way. It just feels that way to me. And you know what? Headcanon, I like it that way. So I'm going to leave it.
Okay.
But he's like, oh, you already forgotten me? And she's like, oh, not if I live to be 1,001. Everything he says feels very, very coded for like the 90s gay best friend. Because later when he's like, oh, you're going to forget all about me. Or have I already thanked you? I've already thanked you for getting me a place to stay last night.
Yes,
She's like,
queen.
yes. And he's like, have I already thanked you for being such a great host? And she's like, oh my God, yes.
Okay, good. So I don't have to repeat it.
Right. Well, she goes, what you haven't done is told me why you're here. He's like, oh, well, you know, we'll get there. We're not there yet. Because then we go to the ISN news broadcast. And this is really what's playing in the background while Sinclair is getting ready for the day. And what it's telling us is that actual fighting has broken out on Mars.
There's a revolt in progress.
It's like for realsies, like weapons,
Full
bombs.
scale
Yeah.
revolution.
Full scale.
For an independent Mars.
Yeah, they knew that Free Mars movement was growing, but nobody had any idea that it was this organized or this well armed. And you're like, oh my God. This is the part in the episode where it started to get like, just breathe through it. There's a couple moments where we have eerie parallels. Obviously, nothing like that is happening in the U.S. No matter what you see on the news, LA is not actually burning, but there's a couple moments, especially Drawl, when Drawl is talking to Delen and he's like, there's just a general lack of purpose on Minbar, and people are looking for, like, they're seeking meaning, and I'm afraid of where they're going to find it. And I was like, oh my God, Just need a minute here for a minute.
JMS, chill out a little bit.
Shh. I feel like he had some sort of prophetic dream when he was high on vitamin C or whatever. But the most important part at the end of this is Sinclair hears the line from the governor, apparently, that said the sand will run red with earther blood.
Yes.
And he's like, you know what? Actually, not today. Boop, boop. And he turns the TV off. We've all been there.
That's
We've all
enough
been
news
there.
for today.
We've all been there. Someone was like, I saw a GIF. That's the scene from Pirates of the Caribbean where Jack is running away from all the cannibals.
Mhm.
And it's like actual footage of me trying to maintain my mental health while also staying informed about what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
That's where Sinclair's like, you know what? I got things I got to focus on today, and it ain't this. And he just turns it off. And then a hologram / maybe mental projection / I don't know. But what I want to know is if you're hallucinating and you're not hallucinating well, is it staticky? Because that's what it looks like.
In the future, yes.
Also, I would like to point out that we are close to the end of season 1, which means Michael is really sick right now. And they do an episode where he has to pretend to see things that aren't there.
That's a little cruel.
It's not. I mean, I'm not sure that's not why they were doing it, but can you imagine knowing someone is like going through
Okay,
it?
maybe it wasn't on purpose.
Oh,
but
no.
It's the same level of cruelty as naming stutter, and lisp.
Yes. I feel for him because he had to be like, okay, all right, this is for the acting. This is for the acting. Although they said he was okay as long as he didn't get too stressed out.
Yeah.
And there's a part in the book where they talk about where he passed away, and it's really sad because apparently he would be medicated and he'd be better, and then he'd go off his medication. And he said,
I feel great. I don't need this medication.
Yeah. And JMS said that every time he came back a little bit less Michael. And I was like, oh, until he finally just had like a break and ended up in a coma and passed away. And it's really sad. Like, he had a really sad and hard life. And that's what happens when we don't think of mental health as health.
Yeah.
And the fact that will I be on medication for the rest of my life? Yes. Will I take that medication the rest of my life? God fucking damn right I will take that medication for the rest of my life. Because I enjoy being alive. So yeah, when people are like, you're not going to try to find a way to get off that? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You know, because I'm really happy to be here and breathing and raising my children. And so I will continue to take it as long as I need to take it.
I saw a post the other day. Someone was saying that they had a friend who'd been taking anti-anxiety medication. And one day they were like, I just feel like blah, like just like too, how did they phrase it? Maybe not normal, but they're like, I just feel so just like bored.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I should stop taking this medication. And they were like, no, bro. This is way better than the like chronic panic attacks
Yeah.
that you used to have before you started the
Right.
medication.
Sometimes stable is good.
That means the medication's working. So keep taking it. Yeah.
And then we come back to Sinclair and Ivanova. And this scene is really just for us to be reminded that Sinclair is from Mars. Because he said, you know, it's terrible to see places where I grew up going up in flames. And Ivanova's like, oh, shit, right.
Oh, that's right.
You're fucking from there. Do you have family there?
It's like in Mass Effect when you unlock all the dialogue options.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me all of your backstory.
Do you have like the good and the evil one? And the good one is like, oh my God, do you have family? And then the evil option is like, good, I'm glad to see Mars burning.
You deserve to be suffering right now because Mars is a horrible place.
Not that Ivanova would ever say that.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't have any family in there anymore. And apparently she doesn't either. But Garibaldi is taking it hard. And Sinclair's like, oh, shit, yeah. No, I figured. And then he starts to say, oh, so last night before I went to bed, a hologram of a man appeared in my room, and he's like, you know what, actually? Maybe I was just tired. Move on.
We've all been there. We all hallucinate things when we're really tired.
I'll wait. I will say when I get really tired, I see movement out of the corner of my eye, and he may be like, all right, that's that.
When I get really, really tired, I go to take my glasses off and clean them. Or I roll over in bed to put my glasses on the nightstand. I have.
Nice. You haven't worn glasses in like 6 years.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, so we're not going to talk about that anymore. I need a distraction. What's the status of Epsilon 3, which is apparently the planet they are orbiting around? And she's like, I don't know. We're going back in a couple of hours. And he goes, good, keep me informed. And then he just leaves. And they are in not a cafeteria.
He just walks
maybe
away
some
from
form
all
of
his
restaurant.
food.
He set his food down, never ate, and then just gets up and leaves like, great, you bust the table. Bye, bitch. And he just leaves.
And then Ivanova basically does the same thing.
Yeah.
She gets up and leaves.
Well, she goes, she just takes
Or
a
she
minute.
doesn't even
We get
take a
a
bite.
long minute of like looking at Ivanova where she's sitting there watching him leave, like processing what just happened. And then she just goes, damn. And I felt that damn. So hard. And I was like, oh my God, that is exactly how I feel. Every once in a while it hits you what all is happening and you're just like, God damn it. Wow. Wow. So I felt that damn. That was the damn felt around the world. And this is the part where we go back to Delenn and Drawl. And he's like, have I thanked you for arranging my quarters? And she's like, yes. Have I thanked you for the
queen.
fine meal this morning? Yes. Good. Then I won't do it again. Oh, have I told you about Rathan? Yes. You've told me about all my teachers and many of my family. What you haven't told me is why you're here, bro. Like, why are you on Babylon 5 right now? And he goes, what's there to tell? I mean, I've lived my entire life on Mimbar, and I kind of just wanted to see we live in we have a spacefaring race that has been spacefaring for so long. We don't remember what it's like to not be able to travel in space. And I never left home.
Yeah.
I never left home. That's how I feel about all my friends. Oh, my friends from when I was a kid who still live in a small town, our very small town that I grew up in. And they're like, why would I leave? And I'm like, because there's so much else. There's so much else.
I know
That's
a
why
lot
you
of the
leave.
people I went to high school with are still in our hometown, 22 years later.
It's not the living there forever. It's the never leaving at all.
Yeah.
It's the like, I don't go on vacation. I've never been there. What do you mean? We move a lot, and we always end up in these really cool towns, and then we go off and do a bunch of stuff because that's why I live here. And then I tell people about it, and they're like, oh, I've never been there. I'm like, you fucking live here. You've never been there?
It's 45 minutes away.
It's 45 fucking
I don't
minutes
go
down
that
the road.
far.
I don't know. We literally lived in a little town that had like 3 feeder towns around it, or, like not suburbs, but anyway. And one was 45 minutes away, and that's where a bunch of the fun stuff was. And so I'd ask friends, hey, let's go there. And they're like, that's too far to drive. It's 45 minutes down the road. It's an easy road, too. It's not like a 2-track or like a cow path or something. Like if we could just hop on the highway 45 minutes down the way, there you are. And they're like, oh, that's too far. Well, that's apparently how Draw lived his life up till this point. And then he was like, you know what? I'm going. He just left. And Delenn is like, okay. Well, that's a curious answer from someone who said that half a truth is the worst kind of lie.
It's a good line.
That's a good line, too. And he's like, you got me. you got me.
You do remember my lessons.
And he goes, our world is changing, Delenn. And this is the part where I was like, oh my God. Because he's like, it might have been the war.
Deep cut.
It might have been Ducat. Perhaps the darkness was always there and we never saw it. And she's like, do you mean the division between the castes? And he's like, no. I mean that, yeah, but like more than that. There is a sense that we are lost and drifting. In the streets, in the temples, you can hear it in their voices. An anger beneath the surface. A self-involvement above the needs of others. And I was like, oh, God, you got me twice. You got me on the dam and you got me on this one. And all I could think is, Matt's probably going to want to talk about the meaning crisis right here.
Maybe.
Because it felt like the description you've given me of the meaning crisis, where
Yeah.
it's like people just have lost their original meaning. They've lost what they found meaning in, or culturally have lost what we found meaning in.
Right.
And now we are somewhat adrift and do not have the same unifying meaning that we believed we used to have.
Right. Which, the attention economy is taking advantage of.
Oh, yeah. Stepping in to fill in and just increase
Just
the
keep you
dissatisfaction.
stimulated instead of fulfilled.
Yeah, to ping pong your attention and your allegiance around to satisfy their own gain, for like financial gain and for political gain.
Right.
And it's kind of wild that he included this little moment in this show from 1994 where he's like, the Minbari identified as one of the like great races in the universe. They were old and wise and noble and powerful. And they started this war, which they believed was like a righteous war, like a religious war, because one of their great religious leaders was killed. And they almost slaughtered this entire race. And then they were like, whoopsie doodle, our bad. We surrender. And so all of those things that they believed
That's
that they
a
were,
symptom of a deeper problem.
all the things they believed they were, now have been called into question.
Yep.
It's like when you have a child and you tell them they're smart their entire lives. Well, you're so smart.
And
You're
then
so
they
smart.
encounter a problem.
And then they
that-
hit a moment where they can't get something right away, or they need to study, heaven forbid, which would indicate that they are AKA not smart.
and
And
it negates all of the identity that they've built up.
all of a sudden, who am I? If I am not smart, who am I? That's where you get burnout, like the AIG burnout for kids, where it's like all through high school, all through elementary school, middle school, and high school, you were told you're great, you're the best, you're so smart, and then you go out into the world, and it turns out you are one among many, and it's a jarring experience for a lot of people, for a lot of kids, and that's what's happening basically to the entire Minbari race. It's their whole lives.
You're so wise.
Their whole lives they've been told they're special, and then all of a sudden, are we really special? And if we're not special, who are we? And if we surrender to the humans, are they more special? And if they're more special, are we even special at all? Like, it's just it's a very good thing. There's unrest. There's unrest on Earth. There's unrest on Minbar. And where is it all coming from? And oh my God, I just realized, okay, well, we're going to have to get there when we find out where it's all coming from. I'm going to have to make a mental note to talk about that later.
Okay.
And he's basically like, it's not where I grew up. It's not my world anymore. So I'm going to the sea.
I thought this line, going to the sea, was an interesting concept. And I don't know if it's just something Minbari or if it's something he came up with.
I don't know, because it implies they have a sea and that they have some sort of seafaring tradition.
Well, then she refers to it as the Sea of Stars.
Well, I think
And it's
that's
like
probably
you
what it
just
is now.
Go out and set yourself adrift in the Sea of Stars.
It feels like linguistic drift.
Yeah.
So at one point, it literally meant I'm taking a boat out onto the ocean. I don't want AI mode. Get the fuck out of here. Grammar. I got more grammar check information than I did where it's coming from. Nothing popped up as like a slam dunk. This is where it came from. So it must be a JMS thing. Unless it isn't, in which case, feel free to tell us. But Delenn is like, draw. Seriously? And he's like, yeah, I'm going. I'm fucking going. I'm going to the sea. And she's like, you're too young. You're too young to go to the sea. Is he? Is he too young to go? She's like, there's so much you can do back home. Okay. This is always
Yes, there are probably a few lives that he could impact the way he's impacted Delenn.
Yeah.
But there may be so much momentum behind this cultural drift into meaninglessness.
Yeah.
One person can't do anything about it.
Or
and,
it may not be.
And it may just be overwhelming for him to even consider tackling that problem.
He may not be enough in the culture anymore to be able to even know what to do to stop this flow.
And he may be feeling it himself.
This is always an interesting argument that do you stay and fix it or do you just go? And he may feel like he's done his part because he's literally sent students like Delenn out into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so in his own way, he's already done everything that he can. And now being in this world that no longer makes sense to him just makes him sad.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd rather just go to the sea.
And find one little place that he could stay
yeah.
and make a difference.
Yeah.
For even just that one little place.
And to, visit people like Delenn and reassure himself that they do know what he taught them and that they are making a difference and that he's already done his good and he can go.
But I get the sense that going to the sea can mean you put yourself out there and it's like 75%, you're just going to die.
Yeah.
you're just going to get lost and die and nothing else. Or you wash up on some island and you get to help out there.
I think he just travels in one direction. You just go. You don't turn back either.
Yeah.
Because he goes, it's better to find a place out there in the sea of stars where I can be of service before the end. I hear the call of the stars, Delenn, and I must answer. And she's like, but that means I'll never see you again. And he's like, yeah. But don't look
Probably
so
not.
sad. This is a time of great joy. Yay! I found my purpose again. And she's like, okay. She accepts it pretty quickly. She's like, all right, but do you have to leave right now? And he's like, no, I don't. I have time. We can stay. And she's like, okay.
I'm literally making up my own timeline
And then
right
she
now.
goes, I'm going to talk and talk and talk until you fall asleep from the sound. And he goes, I will be glad of it. I was like, there he is. And he goes, and then I will dream of the sea. You don't have to dig. That was a dig. You didn't have to put that in there. Just say you're
we were
glad.
pretty good
It's fine.
where we were.
We know you're going to the sea, dog. And this is where in my notes I made that note about the old guard dramatic actors that they were able to pull from and how that is such a unique moment in the industry. And I am so glad Babylon 5 was able to take advantage of it and give these people this one shining moment where they could be in this. A lot of the series they're in now either don't exist anymore. They're hard to find. They're not popular. And so for them to be in something that is arguably still very popular.
Yeah, that's going to last for a while.
Or still in the zeitgeist is pretty cool. And then this is when we go to Garibaldi, because this is when we're coming back to the Mars thing. And we get a snippet of Garibaldi's backstory. We get a couple snippets of Garibaldi's backstory. And apparently the way that he knows about the telepath secret, super secret, top secret training facility on Mars is in a comic book.
Oh.
I didn't even know there were comics, and now I need to find them and read them. And it apparently explains how he found out about it. And he apparently references the comic books twice in this episode. And I was like, oh, damn, now I got to go find them. There's more lore. There's more lore. I must go get the lore. But this is when he's trying to call and he's like, hey, I need to talk to people on Mars. And they're like, sorry, communications blackout. And he's like, I am an Earth Force officer, clearance level ultraviolet alpha. So he is an Earth Force officer, but he is referred to as Mr. Garibaldi.
Maybe he's a non-commissioned officer.
He has an ultraviolet alpha clearance level, but he doesn't have a rank?
Sure.
He's just Garibaldi?
The top scientists have the top clearance because they were the ones developing
He's not
the
a
content.
scientist.
Well, he's a specialist.
I want this to make sense. I want to know where he falls in the hierarchy. He has no hierarchy. He just exists. And
He's the chief security
well, I know,
officer.
but he's not Chief Garibaldi. He's just Mr. Garibaldi.
He has a position, not a rank.
Okay. This would probably be helpful if I knew anything military related. I need to go watch some Ken Burns documentaries. That's what I
There
need
you
to do.
Ken Burns needs to do a Babylon 5 documentary.
I know. Good, please explain it all to me. Or I'll just rewatch the Roosevelt one for the 17th time. But they're literally like, I'm sorry, Mr. Garibaldi. They even call him Mr. Garibaldi. There's like literally nothing we can do. I can file your request, and that's the best I can do. And then he just hangs up because it's not going anywhere. And then we go back to the survey team because they're finally going back down to the planet. And they're heading, like, the survey ship is heading to the planet, and they have a Star Fury escort. And Ivanova is like, remember, the Star Furies cannot go in the atmosphere. So you have to stay in space or they cannot help you. Drop too low and you're on your own.
So he basically says that they're done with their scans, but they want to just do one more thing. Just one little more thing.
Well, we can't skip the part with Londo where Sinclair's trying to head to the command dome to go, like, because he wants to be in on the mystery. Like, a fun thing is happening. It will distract him from the terrible thing that is happening on his home planet. And Londo's like,
have, Instagram or TikTok.
Londo's like, hey, can I get an update on that planet situation? And what will you do if you find anything of value down there?
Will you tell me?
Will you tell me about it? And then
No.
Sinclair's like, fucking no. No way. He's like, the odds are small anyway, but no, Londo, I'm not going to tell you if we find anything valuable down there. And he's like, oh, just making sure we know where we stand. Londo's just like,
always shooting his shot.
I know. I mean, is there a chance? This really kind of harkens back to the Londo of the very first, like, The Gathering. That kind of makes sense if they're trying to appeal to the audience that is also buying the 2-hour pilot movie. Because remember, that's the part where we find out that the Centauri were the major trade partners for Earth during the Earth-Minbari War.
Yeah.
And Garibaldi's like, yeah, and you guys tried to tell us that Earth was a lost Centauri colony. And he's like, what? We thought you were whatever. Not Ragesh, that's later. We thought you were whatever number 5, and instead you're whatever number 7. Oh, slit my wrist. And he's like, you don't have major arteries in your wrists. That feels like that, Londo.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, what do you think I am, stupid? The traitor Londo, the like out for a buck Londo. Yeah, and this is when they head down to the planet. End of scene, because then we cut over to Talia, because Talia is like doing her job, working on her contracts. Which is what she does the majority of the time. I mean, she's the Psychor liaison, but she literally just... I mean, I think she's there to work and make money, and she's assigned to Babylon 5, and she can do what she wants. But then when they need a telepath, she's supposed to be available.
Yeah.
But they very rarely need a telepath because Ivanova has, like... And it's a meltdown. No one wants to hire the Talia. No one wants to bring Talia in on negotiations because they're like, you know how Ivanova's gonna, you know what Ivanova's gonna do, and they're all like, oh my god, it's so not worth it. It's not worth the
Ivanova
temper
is a
tantrum.
gas leak, and Talia is a match.
That's exactly what it is. Although they did have coffee last time.
Yeah.
Her bangs are gone. Maybe that's how they know that this is not
Oh, the chronology.
the chronology.
Ah.
Her breakup bangs are gone. I just realized that. Oh my God. That is such a faux pas. I liked her breakup bangs. But this is when Garibaldi rolls up to her and he's like, hey, babe, I need your help. And she's like, oh my God, that is like the worst line ever. And he's like, it's not a line. It's not a line. Can I please just have 5 minutes, please? And so they go.
And she's like, oh, this isn't you, like, flirting with me.
Yeah, it's hard to tell the difference, Garibaldi. Sorry. You sort of are always leching at me. So when you're not, I don't know what we're doing. And they go and sit down somewhere because he's like, listen, I need to tell you a little story and then I need to ask for your help. Can we do that? And so they go sit at this little table and he's like, okay, buckle up. I'm about to tell you my life story. I love how every moment with Garibaldi where he has to talk about his backstory feels like it should be in black and white and like in Casablanca. Like he's always like, so I was assigned to Mars and I was a real cool cat and a
Garibaldi noir.
Yeah, Garibaldi noir moment. Because he's like, look, I was assigned to Mars and I was messed up, but I met this woman. Her name was Lise, and she's the best thing that ever happened to me. And we were together for years, and then I got my assignment on Babylon 5, and I thought it was going to be my big break because I kept fucking everything up. And I asked her to come with me, and she wouldn't come with me, so we got into a little bit of a fight. Okay, like maybe a really big fight. And then I haven't talked to her in a while. And so the last time that we interacted was us having our big spat. And now Mars is on fire and I don't fucking know where she is. And I need to find her because I'm still low-key in love with her.
Low-key.
And Talia is like,
High-key.
you mean there's somebody else who will take up your attention and keep you from leching at me all the time? Sure, I'll help you find her immediately. And he's like, listen, I know that there's a top secret, super secret, extra secret training facility for Psychor on Mars. And I thought maybe you could call them and have them look around, see if they can find Lise. And she's like, wait a minute. You're not supposed to know that exists. And he goes, it's an imperfect universe. Actually, he says, that's never stopped me before.
Which feels more accurate.
Yeah. And then later, she's like, they're not happy that you know about it. And he goes, that's an imperfect universe. Sorry, sometimes things make you unhappy. Oh, do you need a tissue for your boo-boo? She's like, I don't care. I'm sorry. You had a secret. I like secrets.
Psychor could suck it.
Psychor could suck it. I found your secret. Fuck off. And he just says, I can't sleep not knowing if she's okay or not okay. And you're my last hope. Help me. Help me, Talia. You're my only hope. And she's like, all right, I'll do my note. Okay. All right. If only to get you to stop talking and telling me your tragic backstory. We've been watching Murderbot.
She doesn't want to know anymore.
We've been watching Murderbot. And I kind of feel like, you know how in the Murderbot TV show, every time Mensa is talking about her family, it's actually like warbled in the background. Murderbot isn't listening.
There's other background noises that are like turned up.
Yeah. So that it's just all part of the white noise. And then it'll come in and you only catch snippets of what she's actually saying. And most of it's Murderbot being like, why are they always talking about their families? I feel like in the Babylon 5 reboot, every time Garibaldi starts giving us a backstory, it just needs to cut to like, like the camera drifts slightly away.
Like the ambient cafe noise that you can listen to.
Yeah. And it just like fades out, fades in. And the person's just sitting there staring. The camera slowly drifts off to the side, like, wah, 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 least, wah, 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 wah. I mean, it's important. It's important. It's important. It's his backstory. I get it. But his backstory can get a little long-winded sometimes.
One of his backstories.
Yeah, because he always feels the need to give you, like, everything. Because he's like, I met Lise, and we got real close. Like, real close. And Talia's like, wow, sounds serious. And he's like, do you want to know her favorite positions? Talia's like, please no. Please.
I'm going to give you a play-by-play of our last session together.
God, she was so good at it. Stop. Just tell me about Lise. Just focus on what you need me to do. Okay, fine. That's the part they cut out. They edited that part out.
So there's a moment in this interaction where they're walking through a doorway together.
Yeah.
And Garibaldi's hand goes up. Like almost reflexively, like he's going to put his hand on her shoulder or around her waist or something.
Yeah.
But then he pulls his arm back down. And I'm wondering if they're already dating at this point.
Oh, they could be.
Because the actors got married, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Wow. I had like blocked that from my mind. And then I talked about it on the podcast. And then you said that. And I was like, are they the ones that dated? Wow. They do not look like a couple. I just don't feel it as a couple. No.
I mean, it makes sense.
I get it.
Why they got married, I think it was like a year after she left the show.
They could be dating at this point.
And then they got divorced pretty quickly after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I thought, Jerry let some stuff leak through.
Yeah. Well, and his character's supposed to be fond of her.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And at this point in time in the 90s, a casual touch like that was not as unacceptable as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that a lot in older movies where dudes are just always touching women, always like grabbing their arms, pulling them around, doing the wrist or the hand on the lower back through doorways or whatever. It's much more common than it would be now. But then we cut back to Ivanova and the survey team.
Dr. Tasaki.
And I really like this part because she's like, be careful, make good choices. Tasaki's like, I always make good choices. Don't worry. We're just going to go down and get a couple of samples.
You
It's
can't
gonna be
expect me
fine.
to do all this stuff and not get samples.
I know. He's like, it's fine. I'm just going to go down. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And Ivanova's like, I specifically told you not to do this. And he's like, la, 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 not listening. And he just goes down into the atmosphere.
Sorry,
anyway.
radio's cutting out.
I can't. You're breaking out. And so they go down and missiles start launching at them from the planet's surface. And he's like, I made a mistake. You were right.
I'm pretty sure these missile scenes are 75% of the new CGI.
Oh, they're so good. They get the little rocket. And they're like, help, we're being targeted by missiles. And so Ivanova handles it and saves their lives. She has the Star Furies do like a wide pattern firing to distract the missiles. And then she has them aft burn, like back up out of the atmosphere. She's like, we'll just assume that the missiles don't work in space. And it turns out they don't because they don't attack you till you're in the atmosphere anyway. So it's perfectly fine. And so then she has them escorted back. We get a commercial break where they're like, incoming. And then we come back and they're like, they're fine. It was like at the beginning where they're like, they're crashing. They're not crashing. They're going to get blown up.
Crashing,
they're,
not crashing.
They're fine.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, can you escort them back, please? And so they escort them back. And then Ivanova is like, okay, you're good. You're clear. You're safe now. And they're like, yeah, oh my God, we're so safe. And she's like, great. Well, on your trip while you're being towed back to the station, I would like you
mantra.
to repeat the Babylon 5 mantra. Ivanova is always right.
And just one more thing. On your trip back, I'd like you to take the time to learn the Babylon 5 mantra. Ivanova is always right. I will listen to Ivanova. I will not ignore Ivanova's recommendations. Ivanova is God. And if this ever happens again, Ivanova will personally rip your lungs out. Babylon Control out.
Civilians. And then she looks up and goes, I'm just kidding about that God part. No offense. She had to do her little Jewish. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to imply I'm God. I mean, I did, but not like that kind of God. And then we come back to Sinclair and Tasaki because he's like, what did you see? Like, what happened? And they're like, I don't know. Our scans failed to show any automatic systems on the surface of a depth of 2 miles, but they had to come from somewhere. And Sinclair's like, correct. The missiles did, in fact, have to have an origination point. Like,
Here's
they had
some
to come
footage.
from somewhere.
Enhance.
I know. CSI enhance. It does the like goo, where it pans in and then clears and then pans in and then clears. And it's because they got a shot of down in the fissure where the missiles are coming from. And they're like, okay, but is that crack natural or artificial? And Tasaki's like, I mean, if it's opening so that missiles can launch out of it, probably artificial, I would guess. Just at a whatever. Like possibly this is just an old automatic defense system.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, analysis suggests that was fired from 5 miles within the planet.
Deep.
How big is this planet? Because later they're like 10 to 20 miles. They're like farther deeper. Like they're like 10 miles deep in the planet later. Are they coming out the other side? It's a sphere, so what's the diameter or the radius, whatever, of a sphere of this planet? And Tasaki makes a really good point where he's like, yeah, but what's it defending?
Even the moon is over 2,000 miles in diameter.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
okay.
it doesn't need to be big to be able to go 10 miles deep.
I don't know why I was like, that's bigger than the Earth. It's because I haven't had enough hot jala yet this morning. But he makes a good point. What is it defending? Which is the next logical question. If we have this really elaborate defense system that is keeping people from getting on the planet, why the fuck is it keeping people from getting on the planet? And Sinclair is like, great, cool. Okay, thank you, doctor. You can leave now.
So there might be someone down there.
And then he looks over at Ivanova and goes, analysis? I mean, okay. Sometimes they're like, military speak? What do you think about this, Ivanova? And she's like, I mean, we don't know what other weaponry might be there. Like, what other defense systems are there? So I would consider it a threat to the security of the station, because if it's malfunctioning, there could be something that works in space that it could eventually shoot at us. Plus, there's still a giant fucking beam of light shooting out of the planet, pointed who knows where. It's calling somebody or something. So
It's attempting. Maybe the destination is gone.
oh, maybe. And then Sinclair's like, so what you're saying is that this might be a first contact situation?
Wink, wink, nudge,
Wink,
nudge.
wink, nudge, nudge. And Ivanova's like, I mean, somebody would have to check it out to make sure. Wouldn't you agree? And they're like,
They're both going through the motions
"Absolutely."
of saying the right words
Yes.
to justify the things that they want to do anyway.
And we already talked about how protocol for first contact requires command staff. That's why they're going. It's not like the first couple of episodes of the season where Sinclair was like, I volunteer as tribute for literally every mission. This is like it's fine. They have to go. It is protocol. And then this
And
is
another callback to the old school, the gathering era Sinclair.
Sinclair hasn't gone on missions in a while. This may be in deference to Michael and the fact that they were reducing his role overall.
Yeah.
But I'm glad. I'm glad he got this last, like, I'm the adventurer. I'm the bold starship captain. I'm going to go. And this is when we cut to Londo and he's
An
standing with a
intrepid
group.
galactic hero.
Yes, an intrepid galactic explorer. If you're not watching Murderbot, you should be. So this is the part where we cut to Londo and he's standing with a group of people and he just goes, and then he says, goulash. He's like, do you get it? Somebody doesn't laugh and he goes, I'll get you yet. And then he leaves. What joke led up to goulash?
That's the whole point.
Okay. We got into trouble on another podcast. Garrett can get it. Because we watched a movie where the lady brought goulash. And in my world, goulash is the only thing my dad could cook. And he would boil noodles and he would brown hamburger. He would put them together and then he would pour ketchup over the whole thing. And he would call it goulash.
Wow.
And so when Dad said, do you want goulash? What you were getting was burger and pasta with fucking ketchup on it. Not tomato sauce. If you think I mean tomato sauce, incorrect. Hunt's or Heinz or whatever brand of ketchup we had that time, squeezed in quantity and then mixed. If you were lucky, sometimes it got cheese, but you didn't want it to have cheese. You didn't want it to have, but the cheese and the ketchup was better than the noodles and burger and ketchup. So to me, that's goulash. And Meg agreed. She said that was the way that her family had made goulash as well. That it was like,
Okay, we have a family goulash recipe.
okay.
And it's a lot more elaborate than that.
Well, Meg said maybe hers was, but the point is the goulash that we were referring to is nothing like actual goulash.
Right.
And so we got into what is actual goulash? Like, has
Okay.
goulash been colonized, I guess, and made into this horrific amalgamation of starch and beef or what? So I wonder what goulash he's referring to.
What goulash would Londo be referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're never going to know because we don't know the first part of that joke.
They started recording too late.
It just really feels like this was when he was extra high on NyQuil. And they were like, should we edit this out? And they were like, leave it. It doesn't matter. And it's really funny. And then he comes over and sits with Mr. Garibaldi. And he's like, Garibaldi, off duty, I see. And he's like, water. Fascinating. Never touched the stuff myself. And then he just gets the usual from the bar. And this is a really sweet friend moment between Garibaldi and Londo because Garibaldi is clearly unhappy.
Yeah.
And Londo is
And
like,
Londo's already pretty juiced.
Londo's like, let me monologue for a minute.
Yeah.
But my backstory is fun. Your backstory, dramatic, noir, over the top. My backstory, amusing, entertaining, will bring you joy. Are you ready? And he's like, when I
He
was
doesn't
young.
even ask permission.
He goes,
I'm going to go.
yes, are you ready? He goes, when I was young, I developed a preoccupation with females.
A totally novel part of the story.
When I was, you did? Oh my God, I never would have known. And he's like, so one day I was angry and upset. So I went to the club. He went to the strip club to watch a show, but he didn't even see it. He was so angry. And he goes, then I looked up and there was this beautiful dancer leaning down over the stage. And he does like breast motion. He mimes breasts. And then he goes, and she said, whatever it is, it can't be that bad. And then she kissed me right here. And he points at his forehead. And then he goes, Mr. Garibaldi, whatever it is, it can't be that bad. And they have a sweet moment where he pauses to let it like sink in for Garibaldi. And Garibaldi does like, okay, Londo, you got me.
There's a moral to this story.
I feel a little bit better, but if you fucking kiss me, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, no, we're not that close, Mr. Garibaldi. And so Garibaldi asks follow-up questions because, okay, I'm engaged in the story. He's like, what happened to the dancer? And he goes, oh, I married her immediately. And then when I woke up the next morning and she was asleep on my arm, I thought I'd rather chew off my arm than wake her up. And he's like, oh, that's really sweet. And he's like, oh, no.
She had a voice that could curdle milk.
Londo! Yes, dear. Londo! Apparently this is canon. He actually did that. He actually married a stripper.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and his family forced him to divorce her immediately.
Mm.
Yeah, because she didn't have position or anything. She
Right.
was literally just like a performer, a sex worker, which I wonder how acceptable that is on Mimbar.
Centauri Prime, you mean?
Oh, yeah, that one. Mimbar, probably not at all, unless it's some sort of like spiritual poetry where you also undress at the same time. And he goes, you look like you needed a friend, Garibaldi. And Garibaldi's like, I did. Thank you. And he goes, you're welcome. Now I go to spread happiness to the rest of the station. It's a terrible responsibility, but I have learned to live with it. And then he leaves. And there's a part later where Londo is going to talk about Centauri and Centauri's dedication to duty and that they are always on duty. They are always on duty to the Republic or on duty to their position or on duty to their family. And that they have learned as a race that it is equally as important to be on duty to joy. That joy is as much a duty as anything else. And so that is why he relentlessly pursues, as much because he's Londo, is debauchery and excess and joy is part of how you
cultural value.
It's a cultural value. The best part is Garibaldi gets up to leave and the bartender's like, hey, somebody's got to pay for his drink. So he's tipped Garibaldi.
Which is probably also a Centauri cultural value.
like, peace out. And then
get as much as you can.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, then Londo's walking away with his drink, by the way, like the glass cup and everything. And the little hologram appears and is like, help me, because it has chosen. And let me list this out for you. Sinclair
and
Londo. I wonder.
Okay, you recognize who this is, though. This is Zordon.
Yeah, it does a bit look like Zordon, doesn't it?
He's even wearing the same robe. It's like Zordon from the Power Rangers movie from the 90s.
Yeah. Zordon. We just need
like,
the Alpha, whatever, Alpha 5. What's his name? He needs to be in the little machine room when they go down there.
Yeah. But when Zordon gets like pulled out of his like beam thing, he's not just a floating head.
Yeah.
He's like
the
sitting
beam
he's sitting in a bed of crystals in like a pouch.
Yes.
And the pouch fabric from the Power Rangers movies looks exactly like this guy's clothes.
So what we need to do
is Zordon.
So what you're saying
I wonder if JMS had watched the Power Rangers.
There's only so many ways you can make an alien look. But here, what you're saying is Sinclair, Ivanova, Londo. I think it ends up being Delenn and Drawl. All need to go. Rangers. They need to get sent to a far off planet where they have a spiritual experience with this ancient woman who can turn into an owl. And then they find their inner ninjutsu animal. And then they take that power back and heal heal Varn with the power of their inner warrior
And turn him
animal.
back into a floating head.
Hey, and then they would get, flying anthropomorphic looking
Voltron.
not Voltrons.
I know.
Zords, weren't they
Yeah.
Zords? Wow, that was a deep cut. Wow. I showed that movie specifically, the Power Rangers movie from the 90s, to my kids way too young, and my daughter has a slight obsession with crop tops.
Yep.
I take full responsibility. I also showed them the new Power Rangers movie because I had told them this is a little too mature for you, and my daughter was obsessed with it after that. She was like,
Yep.
Can we watch the Power Rangers movie? That's too old for me. Okay, sure. It's not good, but it's great. It's not good, but it's pretty great. So then, after Londo sees Varn, we cut to Ivanova and Sinclair heading down to the planet. And they've kind of got the system down now. They're just like, fly really fucking fast and hope the missiles don't hit you.
And have the Star Furies
Yeah, do the cover
fire
fire.
distracting blasts of energy.
Which it feels like this really ancient, really advanced automatic defense system is really easy to
It's failing.
cheese.
Just don't worry about it.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. So they're going really fast. And Sinclair's like, I really hope that this thing is 5 miles deep. And Ivanova goes, why? And he's like, because it's going to take us 2 miles to stop. And she's like, wow, really? And he's like,
Good
"Hope-"
on him thinking ahead.
And he goes, I hope we don't hit anything, assuming we don't hit anything on the way down. And she's like, wow, really? Right now? We're going to talk about that right now? And then they end up,
That's
you know,
what makes it exciting.
right. Death. Death makes things exciting.
The danger.
So they fly down and they find a little opening and they're like, ooh, look it. And so they fly into the little opening, which is they're like definitely artificial. Yeah, correct. It's like metal. It looks like the docking bay
lights.
on Babylon 5.
I thought, they just flew straight in. They didn't even know if it was a full tunnel. Like,
No,
what
they
if
were
it just
just like-
stopped 20 feet in?
Here we go, bro. Well, in for a penny, in for a pound. And then he goes, environment check. And she's like, well, gravity is 0.75 of Earth normal. Atmosphere is 90% carbon dioxide, which means it's really fucking hot on this planet. It's like
Maybe it has
Venus.
very little atmosphere. Maybe it only has I guess they were pretty far up, like 40 kilometers up. Or they dropped 40 kilometers.
They went really far down. They do it in
But
miles anyway.
I'm thinking about the Tasaki.
Oh, they were
like
like 10 miles up or...
Yeah, they're pretty high up. So there is an atmosphere. Maybe it's mostly carbon dioxide just to keep the whole planet warm at all.
Maybe they're far away. Venus's problem is it's really close to the sun. Also that it's got a really high carbon dioxide atmosphere. I don't know. They're deep in the planet. That's the point here. And they're like, great, we're going to need our breathers. But nobody says anything about the temperature. Is it freezing?
It's fine.
It's light jacket weather because they
just don't worry
they
about
just
it.
wear their uniforms, so it's perfectly fine. And they're like life signs, and Ivanova's like, nope. As far as I can tell, we're the only living things on this planet. Okay, but you didn't even know there was a giant machine in the middle. That this planet was one huge machine. So I kind of think maybe your readings are not great.
Although they're in the same shuttle that was doing the 2 mile deep surface scans.
Yeah.
So that means within a 2 mile radius,
Right.
they can detect no life signs.
Right. But they also didn't
But they don't
detect
have to
this-
walk 2 miles. Do they have to walk 2 miles to get to Varn?
I don't know. They end up way deeper.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
They didn't detect the
We don't get that detailed.
empty column of technology.
This isn't Star Trek Enterprise.
cross.
This isn't about planetary exploration. This is like get down, get the plot done, get back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then this
They
is
may
when-
not know how to operate the more sophisticated scientific machinery.
Well, I don't think they have super sophisticated scientific machinery. I think-
Tasaki was just driving this shuttle doing 2 mile deep surface scans
right,
on
and
the
they
planet.
did that, and they're like, "Well, there's nothing
They
here."
may
Beep,
not
boop.
know how to operate the
Right.
the machinery that's already the
Well,
scanning equipment
The
on the
planet
shuttle.
clearly has something preventing people from scanning it because they did not know any of this shit was here.
Right.
This planet is a machine. Like the whole planet is a machine. And we didn't know that. I feel like we figured that out pretty quickly in this. And nobody knew that.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is maybe don't trust your scans 100%. That's all. Clearly not, because they find a thing alive almost immediately.
Right.
And this is when we come back to Talia talking to Garibaldi, because Garibaldi, being the last remaining command staff, is manning the command dome, even though he has no rank.
He's an officer still. He's an officer by position.
Okay. Well, he's up there. And so she calls him out and she's like, listen, I'm sorry. I tried calling, but it's not working. Actually, rewind that. This is the part where we see Talia trying to get through. And she's talking to the Psychor guy, lady. And they're like, we can't use...
Hell no. We cannot patch him into the comnet.
And she's like...
Hell no.
She's like, well, he already knows you guys exist, so whatever. And she's like, no, he suspects we exist. That would be confirmation of existence. And I literally don't know if he's some sort of sleeper agent. Like, no fucking way. And she's like, he's my friend, though.
Even if he has good intentions, from a security perspective, you would not want to allow him to contact anybody, because the person he contacts may give him information to relay to agents off of Mars.
Right, yeah.
So they're like, no.
And Talia's like, aren't you being a little paranoid? And they're like, there's fighting a quarter mile from here. I kind of feel like we're entitled to a little paranoia.
Psychor. The P in Psychor is for paranoia.
It's not for psi like psi ability. It's psi. It's paranoia, suspicion, and
interoception.
But the lady does throw her a bone. She's like, look, I can't talk to him. I can't let him talk to people, but I can look and see if she's listed. I can look at the
publicly available information.
Yeah, and see what pops up. And she's like, great. That would be really great. Thank you so much. And then we go back to Ivanova and Sinclair in the planet. And they're walking through this hallway. And they're like, oh my God, look. And there's a dead body on the ground. And they're all like, oh no, that's really sad.
Like a skeletonized dead body.
And then they go to walk and he's like, wait. And it turns out there's like an Indiana Jones style booby trap. And they literally do the like toss the rock that they do in Indiana Jones. And Ivanova goes, well, that'll cut down on tourism. She gets some pretty banging one-liners in this episode. It's really good. And so...
NyQuil fueled fever dream. One-liners.
Yes. It turns out Ivanova is better when you're just a little bit cracked out.
Yeah.
Because she plays it so straight.
Oh, yeah.
And Claudia Christian does such a good job keeping this so straight. And so my humor is this dry. My humor is this dry. In real life, no one ever knows if I'm joking or if I'm just really incredibly mean. I'm always joking. But Ivanova, I feel for, because so much of her humor is like earlier when Tasaki is like, what better way to die than in pursuit of scientific knowledge? And she's like,
is that a multiple choice question?
A multiple choice question? But this is when Sinclair does the like toss the rock and he's like 1, 2, 3, 4. He tosses the rock again and he's like, oh, it's got a 3-second cooldown. Well, hey, no, ho.
Let's replicate this result.
Do you not have an instrument on your body that can count? Because I'm pretty sure you going 1, 2, 3, 4 is not
not super
accurate,
reproducible,
and you could literally die. Maybe we do this with a thing that will reliably count 3 seconds.
Don't you have a stopwatch?
And then he looks over at Ivanova and he's like, can you get through that in 3 seconds? And she's like, I mean, yeah.
It's like 5 feet.
What, like it's hard? And then they throw the rock and they're like, go! And they run through it really fast. And they almost die. It turns on. I want to know how they did this effect because like sparks fall on the ground.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then they get through. So they've gotten through the one booby trap, by the way.
The one booby trap so far.
And they're like, you better take a look at this. And they're on this walkway. And there's these giant things going up and down that look like lifts, but I think it's supposed to be part of the machine. And he goes, holy shit. What the fuck is this? And then Ivanova goes, Commander? He goes, yeah. And she goes, I think I need to go to the bathroom. And Sinclair just goes, tell me about it.
Commander?
Yeah?
I think I've got to go to the bathroom.
Tell me about it.
This is the second watery bowels moment of the night. In case
Yeah.
anybody was keeping track. Oh my God, I gotta pee.
Right. It's a good thing they're wearing their spacesuits.
And this is when Delenn, for some reason, takes Drawl to meet Londo. I guess if someone showed up and said, I'm so tired of Minbari and Minbari politics and Minbari culture that I'm literally wandering out into the sea of stars to die, you'd be like, would you like to meet the exact opposite of Minbari culture? In fact, I would. And so they go to visit Londo.
Or if your sassy gay friend comes over, you have to introduce them to Londo.
Yeah, I mean, it's required. Like,
Yeah.
legally. There's a paper somewhere that says that. This is one of the best moments in Babylon 5, in my opinion. Honestly.
Drawl and Londo.
Drawl, Londo, and Delenn. Because they show up and she's like, Drawl, this is the ambassador, Londo Malaria, this entire republic. And this is Drawl. He's been my mentor and my teacher. And Londo's like, oh, I'm honored, which is a good line. He takes a moment to, be on his diplomacy.
Yeah.
And they're like, I hope we're not intruding on anything. And he's like, no, I've been studying. I like to study the Earthers because I'm trying to make them make sense. And they're all like, oh, that's not a thing. Delenn goes, they seem to be a mass of contradictions. And he goes, yeah, exactly my point. Listen, they have 6,000 years of recorded history that includes remarkable composers, astonishing symphonies, fucking brilliant cultural creations, right? And what is the one thing that has survived the test of time and that they all teach their children? And then he goes, you put your left hand in, you put your left hand out. He goes, they call it the hokey pokey. And it doesn't mean anything. And I've been studying it for 7 days. And Drawl's like,
Drawl looks a little
he
scared.
goes, is this okay? Are we okay being here? And Delenn's like, he's always like this.
This is the usual.
I know. And Drawl goes, actually, I kind of like the song. And Delenn goes, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. This is when he's making them a cup of hot chala.
Yeah,
and they turn
he's
and
just
look.
smiling in the background, shaking this thing.
And so they turn to look at him and he does like a hi, like a little, I'm so happy to have visitors. You put your left hand in. So good. So good. I guess somebody asked him, how do you come up with moments like this? And he was like, I just put myself in Londo's head.
Mm-hmm.
And when you remove a lot of the preconceived cultural baggage or cultural, pre-connotations that we have with a lot of the things that we do day to day, many of them are objectively
Absurd. Yeah.
So to be able to reframe it as how absurd is it that this is the song that everybody teaches their children is great. Meanwhile, Garibaldi's trying to get a hold of Sinclair and Ivanova because they're out of touch. They're like in the middle of a shielded planet, whatever. And this is when Talia shows up and she's like, hey, they wouldn't let you talk to anybody on the planet.
I can't even confirm that I talked to anyone.
Yeah. But the people that I may or may not have talked to are mad that you may or may not know that they possibly, but maybe don't exist. And he goes, that's an imperfect universe. I love that line so much. And he's like, is that really all you got? Like, that's it? You're just telling me you can't talk to anybody? She's like, no, they looked her up and they can't find her name on the list of survivors. So either she's not on Mars or
she's hurt or dead.
Yeah. And Garibaldi's like, well, she had a life there. She wouldn't have just left. And then Talia's like, yeah, well, then it's possible something happened to her. And then they call him back into the command dome. And Talia's like, listen, before you go, I'm really sorry about your friend. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine. She's fine.
She's all right.
She has to be. That's the only outcome I will accept. So it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that Ivanova and Sinclair are now 10 to 20 miles, which feels like a range. I don't know. They could be anywhere from 10 to 20 miles deep. It's fine. It's fine. And they're like, you would not believe it. It is incredible down here. That's what they relay. It's the like really unhelpful information. You should give them your exact coordinates, maybe, since you have this brief moment of connection, instead of being like, it's so fucking cool down here. A whole new area of technology, machines as big as buildings all around us. And then there's another earthquake. Oh no, seismic activity. And they lose connection. So that brief moment where they could have told them where they were, instead they just gushed about what they found, which is fine. Not everybody acts rational in a moment. And it turns out they're okay, but the big styrofoam rocks that fell from overhead have blocked their exit. And they're like, we're going to have to find another way out of here. Implying that there is another way out of here, which there is no way of even assuming that there would be another way out.
They've only been on one hallway.
Yeah, you walk
As
in
far
one
as we
hallway
know.
in one direction. Maybe there's only one. Maybe it goes around the entire perimeter of the planet. And so to get back to your ship now, you must walk around the whole planet.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. But they're like, it's fine. We're going to find another way back. And
Okay, and I just realized that this place would have to be, it'd be bigger than Mars.
Really?
Because Mars is only about 40% of Earth gravity.
Oh.
And
Oh, you
this place
figured
is
out by the-
75% of Earth's
Unless
gravity.
it's denser.
Well, yeah. But even then, there's an upper limit.
Okay. Interesting. So it's a big fucking planet. It's not just like a weird little dwarf planet that they picked.
It would only be a little bit smaller than Earth.
Huh. Yeah, it'd be 3/4 the size of Earth if it's 75% Earth gravity. So they end up seeing Varn again. But they see Varn again. This has happened. There's an earthquake. Their exit is blocked. They have no way of knowing if they can get out again. They can't contact the ship overhead. And a weird dude appears in front of them and is like, help me. Help me. And they're like, what? And Sinclair's like, yeah, so anyway, I saw that guy before.
You saw that too?
Did you also see him? Because I've seen him before, but I kind of thought maybe he was just
I thought I was hallucinating.
like a me thing. Yeah.
I thought I was just tired.
And I wonder how much energy Varn has to expend to do this, because they literally walk around the corner and he's right there. Because we get this cool shot of Varn in the machine with the halo effect behind him.
Mm.
And it's really cool. Like, I really like this moment. And he literally looks at them and is like, help me, or your people, all your people will die. And then we go to commercial break, which is why we have like a cut, and then immediately it's him going, you must help me, even though he just said that. And so they're like, okay, help him by
get him out of the machine.
Getting him out of the machine. So they get him out of the machine. And one of the criticisms I saw JMS responding to when I found the page that had archived his comments was the fact that they immediately trust this guy and trust that he has their best intentions in mind, or like that he's a good guy, that they're immediately like, he's a good guy. But I feel like it fits.
Yeah.
I fully believe Sinclair would be like, great. Yeah. Let's get this man to a med bay. And they pull him out. And Ivanova's like, I just want to point out.
Sinclair watched Power Rangers as a kid.
He was like,
he implicitly trusts this face.
I know. He's like, it would be in the historical record.
Yeah.
He would be able to find it and watch it.
Yeah. It'd be like me, reading the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Which I just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thousands of years old.
Well, not thousands of years, but
the deep knowledge.
Shakespeare.
Yeah. I wonder if back home there's an entire cult around Power Rangers, because it went on for so long, its original context was lost.
Oh my gosh. A few years ago, I stumbled upon
It's still on.
Yeah. It's still going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it was, I saw some episodes, and they had it was some special event in the latest season
where they called on all the original Rangers and they all showed up.
And so they had just dozens and dozens of Power Rangers.
Yeah, I watched that and I teared up a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. And every time one of the original cast dies, I'm like, oh, R.I.P. Like, I think the Green Ranger guy just passed away.
Yeah, Tommy.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think he may have completed suicide. Like, I think it wasn't natural causes. I'm going to have to look that up. But I remember being like really sad about it because I watched the shit of
The
Power
original,
Rangers.
yeah.
And I had the movie on tape. I tried showing the kids. They watched it, but they thought Ivan Ooze was real gross.
Yeah.
That would be an ambitious podcast. Because there's so much.
We'll do that after the Animorphs.
Well, at this point, they're all original filming. When we watched it, it was a recut Japanese TV show that they just added American kids into. And it's so obvious. Like the kids wanted to watch it. We found it on some streaming show and they're like, look, Mom, it's Power Rangers. And I was like, cool, yeah, we'll watch that. So we watched a couple of the first season, the very first season. And it's so obvious that these people are not the same people. Because the Yellow Ranger is a dude in the
suit.
The suit, yeah. But they made the Yellow Ranger a person. And please enjoy the audacity of the first like 2 seasons of Power Rangers where the Yellow
Black Ranger is black.
The Red Ranger's Native American and the Yellow Ranger is Asian. And I was like, wow. And then they had to do that whole thing where they were like, switch that, reverse it. And suddenly the Yellow Ranger was black. The Red Ranger was Asian. And I was like, okay. Oh, I think those people left the show to like pursue a career. But Trini, the first Yellow Ranger, she died like immediately. She died in the 90s. She was not even 30, I don't think. She died in like a really bad car accident. Anyway, please don't get me started on Power Rangers lore, which I apparently know a lot of. I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Anyway, this is when Ivanova is like, I just want to point out that we are cut off from the entrance. We have a limited amount of air and we need to leave. And now you're asking me to now carry this guy while we try to find another exit. And Sinclair's like, well, we can't leave him. And she's like, oh, I'm not implying that we leave him. That's not what I'm saying. But it is a Russian compulsion that before we do something stupid, we need to catalog all of the stupidity for future reference. It's good I do this too. Yeah. Here's all the terrible things that can happen. And Matt's like, but they're not gonna, which is the service you provide. And thank you for that. And then they end up getting to the shuttle immediately. Like they're like shuttle 1 to Babylon 5.
Maybe that was a deleted scene.
It's cut away, cut back, and they're like, phew, I'm so glad you found that secret escape hatch that was underneath the rubble and we were able to just walk back down the same hallway. Like, where was the other exit? It was a hallway with void on either end of it, on either side of it.
Before they went into the chamber with Varn, they were at an intersection. The Varn apparition showed up at a T intersection and looked to the left.
Maybe Varn knew the way out.
Oh.
Let's go with that. Because otherwise it's like...
Varn went to a wall and opened up a panel and hit in a code and a hallway opened up directly back to the
Or he was like,
the shuttle.
Go left, go right. Like he just got them back. Let's just go with that. Because otherwise it's like, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Varn helping them out makes a lot more sense.
So they're like, initiate air cover. Have a medical team standing by. We're coming back. I want a med team at Bay 14. I'll meet them there. And then they head off. So they're coming back to the ship. They're coming back to Babylon 5 in the ship. And in the back is Varn, like on a gurney with oxygen. Mm-hmm. Except they don't know what he breathed. He was breathing 90% carbon dioxide. Mm-hmm.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, that's what he was breathing? Maybe he's a native of that planet.
As far as we know, he was breathing the atmosphere that was there.
Yeah.
But if you've seen part 2 already, you know something else.
I don't remember it, but I'm looking forward to learning this with you.
Okay.
That thing that you already know and are not saying out loud. But at the very end, all right, they're flying back in the shuttle. Varn's in the ship with them. And then something is coming through the jump gate. And Garibaldi's the only guy in charge. And they're like, Garibaldi, something's coming through the jump gate. And he's like, I'm just Mister. I don't have. And they're like, it's big. And it's our little tech, our friend, tech number 1. And he's like, oh, shit. And then it goes, to be continued. Like, that's the end of that episode. And I forgot, honestly, that it was a two-parter, and I was watching it with you, and I was like, wow, we've been watching this for a really long time, and I don't feel like we're reaching any kind of a conclusion. They're going to have to wrap this up so fast.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of two-parters.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when there would be a two-parter when you were watching it the first time through, and you get to the to be continued, and it would be such like a, oh my God. Because usually by the time I was watching it, it was summer, and I was watching the reruns.
And they weren't in order.
And they were not in order. So sometimes you get to be continued, and you would never get the conclusion. And it fucking sucked. Sometimes they'd pay attention, and they'd do them back to back. Or you'd miss it.
Or it'd be a marathon.
Yeah, or it'd be a marathon. Oh, marathons. Oh, my God. Oh,
the
my
original
God.
binge watch.
I loved them. Oh, my God. If you pulled out the TV guide and you looked at your favorite station and it was the same show title over and over again, and you were like, fuck yes, it's a marathon. And you got to just sit and watch it over and over again.
Sometimes it was Babylon 5. Sometimes it was Magnum PI.
I know. Sometimes the marathon was like, no, not that one. No, not that one. That's how I watched Forever Night the first time.
Oh, it was a marathon?
There was a marathon on Sci-Fi, and Leo pulled it up. My sister pulled it up because we had a cable box, but we didn't have a remote. Mm-hmm. So I personally, they would make me go, and I couldn't see
remote.
I was the remote. And 11 was Fox. 42 was MTV, 43 was VH1, and then 64 was the Sci-Fi Channel. And I would cycle through those 4 channels because bound to be something good on one of them. And so Leah pulled up the Sci-Fi Channel, and she was like, oh, this is some weird vampire show. You probably like it. And then left me alone with it. And I was like, so I got to sit and watch Forever Night. And in between episodes, because sometimes a marathon was a special event, and they would have filmed something like clips or things to put in there.
Yeah.
And so they had scenes of Nick in his like loft or whatever, but it was Garrett Wynn Davies.
Yeah.
Talking about like stuff in the show. Like every time you see me drinking blood, I'm drinking this stuff called Ribena, and it's really sweet and syrupy. And sometimes I would get sick from drinking so much of it. And then they'd go on and show you the next episode. And yeah, that's probably why I was like, this is the best thing I've ever watched. And this is my personality from now until forever. And then somewhere you felt a twinge, like, oh no, I'm going to have to watch that whole thing for a podcast. So anyway, oh my God, the marathon on Saturday morning, pulling up your favorite TV, your favorite channel, and realizing it's a marathon of a show you wanted to watch, and you were going to get to sit there and watch that show all day. Mm-hmm. Oh, there was no feeling like that, none. And you're just like, or a movie.
I mean, it's almost like the worst thing that could happen is, oh, it's Saturday morning. Oh, they're having a marathon of my favorite show. And then you get halfway into like one episode, and then your parents come out and they're like, all right, get packed up. We're heading out for the day trip.
You're like, no, I can't come back.
Whereas now, like, we can get the kids off the TV because you can just watch it.
Yeah.
You can just pick back up where
fine.
you were.
Yeah. You just pause it, come back. There was no pausing and coming back. I watched a Babylon 5 marathon too. And that's the one where I saw season 4, the season finale of season 4. Mm-hmm. Out of order. They just threw it in there in the middle. And if you know, you know. I was a sobbing fucking mess. I was like, what just happened? I'd never seen it before. I was just excited to be watching Babylon 5. When we get there, we'll talk about it again. Anyway, I feel like this is a good 2-parter. I feel like this was a much needed, okay, all right, let's get some lore. Let's get some J. Michael Straczynski fingers in the pie.
Yeah.
And give us a kick forward in terms of overall plot. Because we got Mars development. We got Talia development. Talia and Garibaldi. Mm-hmm. And we got, we learn more about the world in which they live, like the place where Babylon 5 exists. And it's eventually going to give us
some more context on what's going on Minbar.
Yeah, and it's going to give us a picture of how large and how old and how much mystery is still in the universe. And it's one of my favorite things about Babylon 5.
Right, is that you get sci-fi, but it's also a fantasy world.
Yeah, it's
Okay. I saw it was like a Tumblr post or something like that, and it was somebody saying that they were looking for their wife and couldn't figure out where in the house their wife was. And so they just shouted really loud, "Sci-fi and fantasy are the same genre." And the guy's wife like yelled from another room, "Hold on, we need to talk about this." He's like, "Oh, there you are." Yeah, we get this like high-tech sci-fi world with aliens and all that,
yeah.
but we also get this sense of mysticism.
Right, because there are races that are so old their technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
And that's thank you. Fucking thank you. I like Star Trek, obviously. I like Star Trek just fine. But we tend to be very like, this is the honor planet. This is the whatever planet. And sometimes they'll
Yeah,
have
it's a little
advanced
reductive.
technology, but it's just very like their buttons are round and their buttons are square and they don't even have buttons. We very rarely, every once in a while, there's a couple times in Voyager where you interact with something that is so inscrutable, it's almost fantasy,
Yeah.
but very rarely. But in Babylon 5, there's the sense that the universe is still large and vast and unexplored, and even the most ancient of races who have been spacefaring for far longer than we have learned to respect that they will never know everything.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. It leaves the world feeling so big.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we are experiencing everything in extremely micro, like human on human or human and alien interaction, we are still aware of how large the world is.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool effect to have been able to achieve. So I think this is a good place to leave it. We got to go pill Pippin. Poor Pippin. Again, everybody just send all the good vibes to Pippin because he needs them. We need them. He needs them. He's comfortable. He's safe. He's warm. He's medicated. I just want him to get better. So I guess we'll leave it at that. We live for the one.
We die for the one.
Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.